everybody, and welcome to the Katie Weaver Show. This is Katie. I'm your host. I'm so happy to be here. If you are listening live, it is the 15th of August already at about 11 a.m. Pacific time. If you're listening to an archive or a replay, I also want to welcome you to the show. I want to let you know that you can find us over in the chat room on Facebook by heading over to 12radio.com. That's number 2 radio.com. Click on the chat button and you'll be redirected into the Facebook chat. If you and you'll see my banner there at the top of the page. If you'd rather watch than listen, you can also find this event being live streamed over on YouTube and Facebook, Katie Weaver Domestic Mystic. So lots and lots of ways to connect. And hello. So hi to everybody that's shuffling into the chat room. Good to see you all. The moon is new, I believe tomorrow. And man, am I feeling it. Really intense this cycle for me. So I'm always curious to know what's up with you guys. How are you doing? What's going on with you? And all of the things. So give me the deets. What's up? Oh my gosh. I have been running my legs off the last few days. Life has been so wild. So wild. So I'm right in the middle now of wedding season because I have all of these weddings that happen kind of at the same time. So, a very long time ago, when gay marriage first became legal, it happened with Utah. Utah had a ruling that went clear to the Supreme Court that they lost that kind of essentially legalized gay marriage overnight on accident. And how ironic that it was Utah, right? So immediately, we had a lot of friends and family that wanted to get married as soon as possible. And I think a lot of people didn't quite understand what it meant for these couples. Like for example, my sister and her wife, Rhonda has a state job and excellent benefits. And Christy really needed those benefits and should have been entitled to those. But as it sat at the time, you could only offer those benefits to your spouse, right? Well, that was why. It's because couples that had been in relationships for a million years, one of them would die or become critically ill, and their families would swoop in and oust that person from their life because they weren't married and didn't have any legal, you know, qualifications. There was just a lot of reasons why couples were desperate to get married as soon as possible. Well, uh, within a week, it was also legal here in Idaho. It was legal across the country. And so we had all these friends and family that wanted to get married. And so Scott and I both went through the process. It's a very easy, click a few buttons online kind of process to become ministers so that we could do that. And we both married quite a few friends and family members. And because there was a fear that it would go away. And the thinking had been for the couples that do get married before it gets taken away again, they probably will have to grandfather them in so they would have their rights maintained. So there was a big rush to get married. In fact, in Idaho, the first day that you could purchase a marriage license as a gay person in Idaho Falls, a ton of people were at the courthouse, and I was there. I was there with a cousin and her wife, her fiance, to buy their marriage license, and we married them that day. There were couples there that were in their 60s and 70s that had been together for 30, 40 plus years that were buying a marriage license. It was an incredible experience, an incredible part of history to get to witness. And we married quite a few couples, and it was very cool. And I only tell you that because to understand my journey through doing weddings, most of those were like not really planned. Some of them were, but a lot of them were just we're just gonna do a courthouse wedding as quickly as we can right now so that we can be married. And so then down the road, I started doing weddings for obviously for straight couples too. And uh, I learned something. I only want to do weddings for people I know, family, because people are weird about their weddings and don't seem to have great communication sometimes. And I did a couple of weddings for people that were referred to me through people I did know who were, it was miserable experiences. And so then I went, yep, nope, not doing it. Definitely, definitely, definitely only doing weddings for family. So, we've married a few over the years. I married my sister Kara to her husband Justin, and various people. So anyway, through some weird stroke of magic, I don't know, three kids in our family decided to get married in August. Now they're not all on the same side of the family. I have an enormous family, so they're kind of on every side of the family. But somehow I ended up with three weddings in a scope of 8 days. And so there's been a lot of, meeting with the couples to find out what they want, getting their scripts written, sending their scripts over so they can go through them, going to rehearsal dinners, doing weddings. So I had a wedding on Saturday, and then I had a wedding on Monday. Yeah, yesterday. Seems like a different day to get married for sure, but the venue was actually a lot cheaper on Monday and it worked for this couple. Very, very sweet couple, and their wedding was a darling. It was so sweet. So anyway, I've made it through two. Now one more rehearsal dinner Friday night and a wedding on Saturday, and wedding season is wrapping up for this girl. But my gosh, it's been wild. But one thing I did for myself, I've always wanted a stole or, vestments of some kind to wear with my dress. And if you go like online to buy them, whew, they are super spendy. Too spendy to justify doing, a wedding every couple of years. So I've never had them. So I realized this time, hey, with the embroidery machine, I could probably make myself vestments that would be awesome. So I did. So I want to show you a picture. It's not a great one. I should take a picture of the whole vestment, but anyway, this is what it looked like. So it's a stole and it's embroidered with blue vines and green leaves and pink and yellow flowers. And it goes clear to the very end of it. So it's like completely full. And I'm wearing a black dress. Anyway, I'm so in love with it and excited about it. That's all. So that's kind of fun. It kind of makes me want to make more of them to put on Etsy or something because surely I'm not the only person that's gone looking for them and gone, whoo, $300? Probably not doing it or whatever. So anyway, maybe I will. But yeah. So that's my journey through doing weddings. But I'll tell you what my biggest problem is. I don't know if empaths should do weddings because damn it, I am a crier. And the processional starts and everyone's walking up the aisle and the groom is in tears and the mother of the groom is in tears and then the bride comes and everyone's in tears and oh man, it kills me. So I cried a lot at the first wedding. Did a lot better job yesterday. So I'm hoping this last one is going to get me. I know, I already know, just because of the family that it is. And these jerks, I know they're criers. They're going to get me anyway. Scott's like, you have to quit looking at people. You just have to stop looking at anybody, including the bride, including anyone. Well, you can't really do that and do their service. But anyhow, so that's what I've been up to. Mostly marriage, but it's pretty fun. It's been a really fun experience. And hopefully I don't have to do one for a good long time, but it's a good thing. Uh, we learned, I think when Kara got married, she hired a a Unitarian minister in Vegas, because they actually eloped to Vegas. And the minister charged them $300, which is not unheard of. But we come from the land of Mormons where the bishop marries you and it's free. And they aren't even allowed to charge you. So people here are shocked by the sticker, charging or paying someone to marry them. And I don't charge these kids, they're family, and It's just my gift to them, you know? But that's been a problem around here for a long time is that bishops are the people who marry people. So if you are not religious, you find yourself without someone to marry you. And so uh, having people who will do weddings, especially non denominational weddings, it's kind of a rarity. So, anyway, I would love to do a wedding that was like a full on pagan theme, like a fairy wedding or a, you know, something like that. That's like really, or a hand fasting or something like that. That would be amazing. But anyway, the bride yesterday did not want a religious. I always ask, do you want God? Do you not want God? Because it's up to you. It's your service, you know? And some people do and they want some religion, and that's fine. I will gladly put that in their service if they want it. It's their wedding. It's not mine. But she did not. Actually, none of my brides did this time around, and that was fine. But after the wedding, her grandpa hunted me down and tried to start something with me over the fact that there was no God mentioned in their service and that I said the word universe multiple times. Yeah. And I just looked at him and said, that's what the bride and groom asked for. This was the script that they approved. And he went, uh-huh, sure. And there was this tiny moment of me that forgot that I'm 46 years old and was ready to, like, I don't know, apologize, try to make it right in some way or something. And then I'm like, wait a damn minute. You don't have to put up with that. So I just walked away. I didn't say anything else. I thought, you're not worth my energy and time. And also, it's not your wedding. So shove off. And so I just walked away, walked to the other side of the room, talked to other people, just steered clear of those folks, and that was it. But isn't it funny? Like, it doesn't matter how old you are. At least for me, sometimes I forget how old I am, or how much of my own authority I have over myself. But anyway, it shook me a little bit, and then I realized, what the hell are you doing? You don't know this guy anything. You don't owe him an explanation, that's for sure. And you sure don't owe him your time to stand here and tell you what's up. Why would I do that? Why? Anyway, got to remember that more often, probably. I said at that point, that better be the last time this happens today, because that was the nicest I'm going to be about it. But it was. So anyway, so that's where I've been. If it seems like I've been pretty absent, I have. My goodness. But it's fine. All's well that ends well. And one more wedding over the weekend in a really, really gorgeous part of Idaho that will be whew, stunning. Stunning, stunning. So it's exciting. That's all. Yeah. So it said authenticity and expressing your true feelings is more important than conforming to society's expectations of stoicism and putting on a mask. The families probably appreciate it for the most part. I think that's very true. Yeah. The hard part around here is that these are all kids who were raised in the Mormon church who are not uh, practicing Mormons themselves. And in the Mormon church, you get married in the temple. But you have to, follow all the rules and pay your tithing and go through all the steps in order to do so. And then you're married in the church's eyes for time and all eternity, versus here on earth, our earthly weddings are only until death do you part. And so it has been a thing uh, with Mormons to show a certain amount of sadness over weddings that didn't take place in the temple, because it's not an eternal wedding in their eyes. And so there's kind of that layer of it that they're already a little stuffy about these weddings happening outside of the temple. And then to have a minister who makes no mention of God in any part of the ceremony, with some of those people, it definitely hits a raw point. Yeah. But, you know, it is what it is. That's all. I think it's kind of awesome. I think keeping the focus on the couple is great. I bristle just as much at super religious funerals where we make it a lot more about our religion than we do about the person. And I think they all should be much more centered around who the people are that we're celebrating and much less around someone's religion or someone's take on religion or whatnot. So, anyway, that is all. There's some unsolicited information for you. Opinions, unsolicited opinions. Isn't that what this show is, though? I'm positive I've heard Mo say that before on his show. Anyway, let's get into Luminous and look at a few things. I know it's only the middle of August, but man, I am feeling so folly. I even put pumpkin spice seasonings in my coffee the other day. And in fact, I'm drinking gingerbread coffee today. It just seems right. What can I say? Hey, Victoria. Right, Jane? Wouldn't a fairy wedding be amazing? I'd buy a new dress for that. Like I would gladly dress any way they wanted me to. Or, hear me out, some kind of a fairy tale wedding where the officiant is dressed as the fairy godmother. Right? A Shrek wedding. A Shrek wedding. Oh, come on, man. There's so many things you could do. I probably need to start talking some of my friends that are more like my age to do recommitment ceremonies and do cool shit like that. All for me, of course, so that I can officiate and dress up with them. I would use pumpkin spice every day. It's true. It's true. I read a meme the other day that said, and no offense, this is a joke, because I know some of you don't like pumpkin spice, but it said something along the lines of, just so that you know, pumpkin spice, all of the spices in pumpkin spice are mostly used to banish evil. So if you don't like pumpkin spice, something to think about. Isn't that funny? That's funny, Sid. She said, you really ought to create a fairy fantasy wedding specialty, right? Would be really fun. Well, just by going to these two weddings, and Micah and Matea were, oh, actually, all three of my kids have been in lines in weddings this summer. And you see things that you do like and things that you don't like. And last night we were going through after all the wedding experiences we've had this summer, some of the stuff that like I would definitely want to do at a kid's wedding, or definitely not want to do, or way to organize things or whatever. And Matea was like, I probably missed my calling. I should probably be a wedding planner. And dude, she would plan that wedding. She would keep things in check. She would manage the monster in law. I mean, she would have it down. Maybe she has. But then again, this girl, I don't know if I've told you guys this, but Matea, my oldest daughter, is in her last semester of her bachelor's degree. She will graduate in December. Isn't that awesome? So proud of her. She has worked so hard. She's worked full time and gone to school full time for the last 4.5 years. And then she's going to get to take a whole semester off because her master's program doesn't start until next fall. So she'll get to just take a break and just work. And she'll need to because, ooh, man, the master's program is expensive. But anyway, then she'll hit the master's program next fall and she'll have, it looks like 2.5 ish more years to be done with her degree. She's going into occupational therapy. So anyway, maybe that, right? Maybe she should just take it up as a side gig, Trish, right? She would. Yeah, Trishy knows that. Yeah, she would be. She could definitely do it and do an awesome job. But the kid is organized, man. Years ago, we flew to Seattle for Deb and Christine's wedding, long time ago. And it was, Matea came, she was like 14 at the time, maybe 15, and my sisters. And when we all got in the car, she actually gathered our plane tickets, all of our boarding passes, and put them in her purse because she didn't trust us to not lose them or go to the wrong gate. This girl had never flown before, but she didn't trust us. And I'm going to be fair, I lose everything. So it's fine. Anytime anyone hands me anything important, it goes directly to Scott because I'm going to lose it. I will. I have lost staggering amounts of money before. Luckily, found them every time. But oh, I've lost so many important things. So I don't, I'm not the guy to hold on to the stuff. But it killed me because the 14-year-old knew right off the bat that she was more organized and responsible than the three adults traveling with her. And she managed us. She did a good job too. Yes, Christy, OT is so awesome. Pediatric. Yep, pediatric. Is your plan so far? We'll see. You never know when you start putting in some clinicals what you're going to decide. But so far, pediatric. Yeah. She took 3 years of sign language too while she's been in school to just have that under her belt to go towards pediatric OT. So anyway, we'll see. Yeah. Oh, Jane said just went through that with my atheist brother's funeral. Instead of friends and family chatting about him, other bro had a sermon. Again, cost about $500 for the stranger to talk about someone he didn't know. Why? Right? Why? I don't get it. My mom was so determined to not have a religious funeral that she insisted that all of the music should be the Beatles. There were no hymns at all. It was all the Beatles. It was awesome. I agree. The thing that really bugs me about funerals, since we're talking about it, um, is when you go to funerals and they pretend that the person is someone other than who they were. Not saying they have to be up there, you got to go up there and be like, this is Rick and he was a real asshole. No, of course not. But the one that really gets me is like, Rick loved the Lord when Rick didn't go to church a day in his life. Like, don't say shit like that. You don't have to. What an affront to Rick and to his family, right? Why can't you just talk about who they were? A couple of weeks ago, I think I told you guys about my friend Leslie passing, and her service was a graveside. Her husband had been also in that accident and was horribly hurt, is still quite hurt, physically and emotionally, God. But anyway, so they did a graveside and it was perfect. There was no sermon. There was a life sketch given by a good friend of hers, my aunt Julia, and it was lovely and it was not ridiculously long. And then they just opened the mic and said, anybody that wants to say anything about Leslie, please do. And I would say around 15 people, me included, came up to the mic and said a few things about Leslie. And it was so kind and enjoyable and fun and a great way to experience her in different ways. Like her hairdresser was there and talked about how much she loved spending her looked forward to her appointments because she knew she and Leslie would have a great laugh and have a lot of fun together and you know nephews and friends and yeah, things like that that are just so it was awesome. And I went, "Please, man, why can't funerals be more like this?" Or what if you didn't have a funeral at all and just had a life celebration that was a party where you just had fun and had a slideshow going and foods that that person loved and just memories and fun? Absolutely. Yep. Yeah, the Beatles. I know. It was awesome. Also, we did do some prayers, but they were all given by women. Uh, you know, if you know, you know. It's just getting away from that patriarchal feel. But there was to be absolutely no mention of religion. And we did have a couple of uncles that were asked to give short talks, but they were told under no uncertain terms, don't do it. And they didn't. They didn't at all. Well, that's what Lucille Ball did. When Lucille Ball died, she had given strict instructions, don't you dare give me a funeral. or that will call for a haunting. And so her family waited. They waited a fair amount of time, a few months at least, and then threw a party in a park that was just a huge event for the public, for her friends, for her family. And there were huge posters everywhere of her throughout her life and in all different, various productions that she was in and things she was doing, and reels of her stuff, her pictures, her performances, whatnot. And it was just a huge celebration of life. And I think that's the way to go, right? Funerals are so sad and hard and political, Someone's definitely going to be hurt or offended or pissed off or whatever. I like this much better. Yeah. Jessica said, I want an Irish wake. No crying, just celebrating life with loved ones. I love that. Yeah. Oh, Laura said, my dear friend passed in May, and we're going to her celebration of life in 2 weeks. My friends and I were imagining driving up in a party bus or a float, like from a parade, right? If that's what she would love and would have been on that bus, then hell yes. Absolutely. Yeah, Jane said that it was so cringeworthy that at her atheist brother's funeral, so many Bible verses. Yeah, very uncool. If you are religious and Bible verses are something that you would want, more power to you, of course. But if it's not, why do we do that? Why? That's hard. Jacqueline said, my brother, after being diagnosed, told each of us separately. He said, no funeral, have a celebration. And that's what we did. It was great. Friends from long ago all gathered here. Oh, that's so awesome. I love that. Weddings and funerals definitely bring out the best and worst in us. Absolutely true. Yeah. Death changes people, doesn't it? Whew. Losing people sometimes can absolutely tear families to the ground. It's hard. There's definitely it's a precarious time. Yeah. Victoria said one of my friend's aunts wants to be cremated and put into fireworks and have a big party. Can you do that? Wow. I always thought it would be kind of cool to be cremated and put in one of those tree pods, or something like that. I don't know. That's pretty interesting. I don't know why we're talking about this. It's just where we are. Maybe we needed to, right? You never know. I don't know if I even shared. No, I didn't. Okay, let's go look at Luminous here for a minute. I'm cracking up. I don't know how we got. I did it. I know I did it, but I don't know why. I do know, though. What I know is I don't. I know that this show goes whatever direction it goes, and usually it's for someone. And it's kind of fun because they're not always in the chat room. Maybe I don't always know, but sometimes after a show, I'll get a message from somebody who didn't say this in the chat room and say, thanks for talking about blah, blah, blah. I really needed to hear that today or whatever. Kind of cool. Anyway, one more on the funerals and then we'll talk. We'll stop talking about it. My grandpa, my paternal grandpa, was a pedophile. He went to prison. He abused many little girls in our family. He was not a good man. And when he died, in fact, he died in state's custody because he had kind of relapsed to his old ways or just kept him on up, I guess, when he fell into dementia and was in a nursing home. And I mean, it's awful. That's an awful conversation. But it's true. I mean, that's who he was. And so when he died, none of us had seen him in quite a few years because he was in basically a nursing home for people that should be in prison. And so where they had like 24/7 one-on-one care to keep them from abusing each other and from getting in trouble. And anyway, so he died there. I did not think that we should have a funeral because he had hurt our whole family like immensely. Some other family members much more, and it to me didn't really feel like why. And so indeed A very disingenuous funeral happened for him that was really a bitter pill for everyone. It felt really hollow. He didn't need a funeral. We did not need a funeral, but my grandma was still alive and it was very traditional for her, even though she hated him. Uh, she kind of used his funerals as her last few stabs at him, I think, in some ways. But in some passive aggressive things she did. So maybe it was cathartic for her, but it was kind of awful. And it was a religious funeral and like, ooh, at the very maximum, we should have had a very brief graveside, you know? Period. He didn't really deserve more than that. And that's the other thing that gets to me is stuff like that. Again, where we pretend people were who they weren't. And why? Why do we do that? It's true, Jane. We don't an exorcism. That's probably right, Lillian. Jane said the topic isn't talked about enough and society really needs to start, right? Whew. Because I'm a medium and because I've had a fair amount of death around me, I think death topics really roll off my tongue. It doesn't make me uncomfortable, though I know it makes some people extremely uncomfortable to talk about stuff like this. And I think that's you're probably right that we need to talk about these things more and in more just plain matter of fact terms. I mean, dude, we were all terminal from our first breath. As we know, nobody gets out alive. That's just the way it works here on planet Earth. And yet we act so weird about the topic of death. My grandma, these were words she would have whispered. There were certain things you just didn't talk about. It wasn't polite. And if she was talking about a death or a funeral or a divorce or cancer, it was whispered. It wasn't even spoken aloud. Isn't that wild? I think I think it was just her generation. I hope. But it's true. There needs to be more conversations about it. And honestly, people need to talk a little bit more with each other about what they want because obviously we don't always know. Yeah. Yeah, that is just, hi, Malik. That is the way it was back then, for sure. Very weird. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, generational. I know. She was the same person who referred to herself as Mrs. Richard Brower rather than her name. And it used to make my mom so mad. She'd be like, Betty, you have a name? You have a name. But that's just what they did. Oh, anyway, some things have changed. Some things changed and now have changed again to set us back about 50 years. Uh, but we'll get there. Trish said they say we should cry at births and laugh at funerals. Birth is very painful, death is a release from suffering. It's so true. So, so true. Yeah, absolutely. There needs to be more of that, more celebration, less of the rest. You're going to grieve anyway, right? You're going to grieve whether your loved one has a celebration of life or whether they have a funeral. I also think that the idea of waiting and because how fast after people die, we will do a funeral, right? Around here, 3 or 4 days. Like it is fast. They want that done. The day after your loved one passes, you are expected to be at the funeral home making a barrage of decisions and getting it all hammered out and getting a program written and people to have their assignments for the service and like all of those things happen so fast. And so many times I have seen people, I've had clients come in and talk to me later with big regrets about the funeral and how it was done or what did happen or what did not happen. And I think that it really, it's crazy that we insist on doing that so quickly. you know? And I love the idea with the celebration of life of putting it off for a few months. Give the family an opportunity to get their shit together, to do some grieving, to actually be thoughtful about what they actually would want instead of being forced to do this so fast. Miranda, I'm not sure that we're going to get to readings today though. Malik said, I sadly lost my mom last year. Grief is a process. I still have days of immense sadness. Oh, babe, I'm so sorry. I know. I know. My mom's been gone now. Well, at the end of this month, it'll be 11 years. I hear you. Even after 11 years, I have those days. So my heart is absolutely with you. Absolutely. Yep. Yeah, the funeral home business is something. Yeah, people are so gullible to spend that money for sure. And when people are in grief, man, they will open their wallets. Ooh, very much so. In fact, when my mom died, we had the strangest experience at the funeral home. We went, and she had been ill and had been on hospice, and we'd had conversations about what she wanted, lots of them. And as you know, my mom loved birds and particularly loved blackbirds and ravens and crows. And so when we went to the funeral home, they had a casket that had black birds embroidered into like the inside fabricy stuff and etched onto the casket itself and onto the corners and stuff. There were all these black birds. And my dad was like, yeah, that's the one. It was blue as well. And blue was her favorite color. And it was super expensive, but he didn't care. He wanted it for like, who cares? He had the money to buy it. So who cares? Right. I don't know what the deal was. I'm guessing there wasn't much of a profit in that one for the funeral home person because the funeral home director that we worked with did everything he could think of to convince us to go with a casket that was about $1,200 cheaper. He pushed and pushed and pushed to the point that my dad finally said, have I said to you that money's an issue? Well, no, no, sir. That's not my, he said, okay, well, it's not. And that's what we want. And that's what we're going to do. And if you can't do that for us, maybe you could get someone for us that can. Because he just wouldn't quit. It was so bizarre. And at the time, I was like, is this guy just like really worried about money or like, what is his deal? But it finally occurred to me later, there was probably no money in that one. He probably made a better commission off of that cheaper one. And for whatever reason. And so he worked really hard to talk us out of that casket. What the hell? But yes, the funerary industry, whew, there is, unfortunately, there is a lot of financial unfairness going on. I would agree with that entirely. You can buy a casket on Amazon. Did you know that? Of all the things, you can for actually a shit ton less money. Yeah, I know. I don't know why we're here, but here we are. Jessica said we talk about it with the kids so they know what our wishes are now with sound minds. See, I think that's very smart. Christy said this December will be 12 years since I lost my mom. You don't get used to it, but eventually we get used to the difference. Truth. Yep, absolutely. So, Malik, sending all of our love to you and just know that our hearts are with you. And Costco. Yeah, you can buy a casket at Costco too. Wild. Okay. Let's talk about Luminous real quick. There are a few things in there I wanted to go through. I decided I'm ready for spooky season and I am done with summer florally art in Luminous. We're going to the dark side. Just kidding. It's not really the dark side, but you know what I mean. We're headed there. Yep. Okay. So I did call the magazine Changes in the Air because it feels to me like we are You could just smell it and feel it. And I know that a lot of you guys have been super uncomfortable the last few days. I've heard it from a lot of my clients. Anxious. Some people anxious for no verifiable reason. They don't know why. Just feeling weird, you know? Just feeling weird. Uncomfortable in their skin. So I've done a lot of energy work the last few days for people that just needed to be grounded and put back in their bodies, but also that just are feeling a little off. And so if that's you, just know you're not alone. I think the solar storms might be contributing to that. The moon is new tomorrow, and that's been a really kind of uncomfy period. But there is some change for a lot of us, shifting a little bit. And my advice to you is to just embrace it, to get comfortable with being uncomfortable, and just know that you're going to benefit. You are. Just try to get comfy. Happy distractions are always welcome. And the third season of Only Murders in the Building, it just came out. So what are you doing here? Hey, Maya. Anyway, yeah. So if you're uncomfortable, just know you're not alone. That is kind of the going vibe right now. All right. I shared something in my musings. I also shared this on Facebook, so you may have already seen it. But I found this app called Pacer. And on Pacer, you can buy a walking adventure or a running adventure if that's your jam. But basically, it's a certain amount of miles and it's a theme. Like you can do the walk through Yellowstone adventure or a million things, anything you can think of, someone has done. There's lots of companies doing this. But basically, you sign up for it, you tell them how many miles a day you want to pledge to, and they'll tell you how long it's going to take you to get there. You turn it on, it syncs with your phone and your pedometer on your phone. And then any walking you do, unless you only want it to track when you're like specifically exercising. I just have it on for all the time because I need all the credit I can get. And so then you buy an adventure. So I had bought over earlier in the summer the Pendle Witch Trial adventure. I don't know if they call it adventure. Experience. That seems kind of icky. So the Pendle Witch trials happened in England, I believe in the 1600s. And the area where that happened, it wrapped up at Lancaster Castle. And it is a very interesting time period, a really interesting series of places. So you walk a certain amount of miles and then you unlock a new area, a new postcard. So then there's a big write up about the history of this place or why you're here, what you're doing, all of these pictures. They even have some like 360 views that you can, and videos in some of them. So you can really kind of feel like you're there for just a minute. And it's really fun and interesting. And then every day, your phone and your app are telling you how many steps you've gotten in, how, you know, close to a mile you got or whatever. And it's cool. And then when you finish, and then they send you a medal. And the medals are the coolest thing you've ever seen. They all they're movable. They open. They have little compartments. They're just cool. So I decided to try this over the summer to just get me moving a little more because my legs are terrible and they hurt a lot, and I tend to be a little more sedentary than I should be. So this was fun. So over the weekend during wedding number one, running around that hotel, I did manage to finish the first challenge or the first finished the Pendle Witch. So that which was awesome. So now my medal's coming and I went on and signed up for Sleepy Hollow. They have 4 spooky adventures and I thought I would start with the Pendle Witches, then move on to Sleepy Hollow, and then maybe this fall I'll get all of them in. I don't know. Maybe Sleepy Hollow's not very long. It's like 30 miles or less. So anyway, Pendle Witch was 41. But one of the things I learned was about the Pendle witches, and it's pretty cool. Now, yet again, they're not really witches. They were just humans with some crazy bullshit going on. But there is a part of the Pendle Witch trail that is called the Pendle Sculpture Trail, where artists from all over the world have come and made a sculpture. There's thousands of sculptures on this path in this part of the forest, and so I was going to share a few of them with you. So, of course, that obviously is a Pendle witch, and they're just in random places. Like you can wander through that little bit of forest and find sculptures just kind of everywhere. There's a wolf, kind of. He's horned. He's not quite a wolf. I don't know what he is. There's quite a few of these trees that have been cut and formed into various sculptures. This little forest troll, maybe or no, more of the fallen trees that have been turned into something cool. A unicorn. There's all kinds of things. Anyway, so for a good time, honestly, just look up the Pendle, the Pendle sculpture forest. It's amazing. But anyway, so I just wanted to share because I've had a ton of fun with that, and of course now I'm on to Sleepy Hollow. The app is called Pacer, Quelly. Yeah, your three weddings and a funeral is a Movie. I'm living in it. What the hell? You're right, Renee. It's called Pacer, but there's actually a bunch of them. So you just you know, start looking through them until you find one that you like. Oh, Laura, you just found Only Murders in the Building. It is the best. It's on Twitter. In case you all or not Twitter. What am I talking about? It's on Hulu. And it is so much fun for sure. Yeah. All right. Keep moving. Kelly's got a synopsis for the week here. And then, of course, she also has her full scopes over on her Patreon. I noticed over on Patreon too, she put up a bunch of North Nodes for celebrities that she did, that she read that were really fun. So she's offering some extra stuff over there. It's awesome. So if you do Patreon, or if you don't, go over to Patreon and search her out and sign up. It's like $5 or $10 a month. It's just an automatic billing. And then you'll get all of Bitch Scopes every month. You get or every week, sorry. And they're big, long, like they're very worth it. And then of course, she's throwing in some extra things, all of her podcasts, all of her stuff. So anyway, go see her on Patreon. Patreon is such a fun way to support creators because it's not a lot of money. It's a little, but it helps to just show them appreciation for all of the hard work they put in that you benefit from. It's a cool way to just kind of do an ongoing tip and get some exclusive stuff too that they might not be offering to everybody. I offered my freezing spell. Talked to someone this morning about doing a freezing spell, and it made me think it's been a hot minute since I shared this one, and it's a really good one. This is some old folk magic. If you have somebody or something that you really need to just freeze out of your life, maybe you have a crazy neighbor that's making your life miserable, or a coworker that you need some distance from, or an ex, or a whoever that you just need to compartmentalize and move aside, or a situation. Maybe there's a family feud going on, or there's a anything that's just worrying you too much, or whatever it is, you'll know. Take either their picture or their name or a quick write up of the situation, put it in a Ziploc bag, put a little bit of water in with it, seal it up, and put it in the back of the freezer. And as you do that, the intention to hold or the incantation to say is I freeze your influence and energy over me and my life. Freezing spells are crazy effective. It's wild to see how often people do a freezing spell and it takes the heat out of whatever this is and slows it down. So there you go. If you need to do a freezing spell, do it. Now, maybe a few years down the road, you're like, huh, well, she quit that job after 6 weeks, so I haven't seen her since. Go ahead and pull it out. get rid of it with your gratitude. But if you've ever just really needed to remove somebody in a, you know, quiet, gentle way, a freezing spell's a great way to do it. Okay. Heart happenings with Ginger. Of course, she has got new scopes for us as well. So let's do Scorpio. She said, your power symbol for the week is from your fellow water sign, Cancer. Oh, you're welcome. Uh, the angels and guides give you the crab. They say the crab symbolizes that you may feel a bit moody or withdrawn this week. Oh, maybe sorry. And will likely find comfort within your home or what feels like home for you. Oops. Got to keep an eye on our Scorpios, huh? So maybe not. You're welcome. I don't know. You decide. As always, lots of true crime over at True Crime. Uh, this article we did yesterday about Alan Todd May, it's some good stuff. Not a murder for a change. He's a white collar criminal that, yeah, it's worth watching. I loved it. What do they say on TikTok? Look, here comes the consequence, consequence, consequence. Yeah. Alan Todd May. He found out. Okay. Anita brings us Saint Bernadette. Anita, by the way, I would like, and Jamie had a brand new video about the new moon. So there's got to be something in there that you needed or wanted. The link is there. If you're listening and not watching and you don't receive Luminous as an email, just go over to Luminous Magazine on Facebook or on Instagram, and you can open it and read it right there. Anita, our dear, dear Anita, lives on Maui. And of course, as we know, there was a horrific fire on Maui last weekend that destroyed an entire village, killed way more people than I think we know yet, and just did unthinkable damage there. And so it's part of Anita's job. Disaster response is a part of her job. And so she is very much in the middle of this, of helping the families that were affected. And so I would just like to thank all of you guys, or ask all of you guys to join me in sending her a great deal of love and support, because she is really in the trenches right now. And we love Anita. She's an amazing human being that has, I'm sure, done a lot for plenty of us here, me included. So let's just all keep her in our thoughts and send lots of love her way, as well as all of Hawaii, and particularly Maui in that area. So, yeah, that's what I'm saying. I love our hive mind. I love that we can get together on stuff like that and do things that help support each other. So, very much love and appreciate Anita and the hard, hard work she does working with victims of crime and victims of all of the other natural disasters and things like that. She does a really important and special job and is amazing at it. So, yeah, we love you, Anita. Yeah. Well, that's luminous, and that's what I've got. So, we don't really have time for readings. What if we just do a collective reading for the new moon? Let's do that. Okay. Also, when I was talking about bringing home a basset hound puppy, how come none of you reminded me how stubborn and determined and naughty basset hounds are? Because this puppy, oh my God. She's so damn cute, she kills us, but good lord, she's running our lives, including the chihuahuas. She's running everyone's lives. She is something. Okay. All right. So 3 cards for us for a collective over the new moon. Oh, interesting. The first card is heartache and loss. We were kind of talking about that uh today for some reason, and also just that idea that there's change in the air. So maybe there is a little bit of heartache, letting go, shifting that we all need to do some healing. There may be, I wondered if we'll see some old grief emerge as well this month that needs some attention, needs to be loved so that we can let it go. But that's the first card that came up for this new moon cycle. Pretty interesting. The second card is the recognition and reward card. This card, a lot of times, is an indication of some good financial growth. It also sometimes is just that recognition, uh, growth in another way, being able to elevate your job situation, things like that. So, kind of working through some of the bittersweet stuff and maybe the change that's afoot, that there's some reward at the end of that. And then finally, conflict and defeat. Wow. Well, if I'm not a ray of sunshine, damn it. We don't want these cards. Uh, we'll be authentic and we'll stick with them. This card is just a warning. It's a warning to stay above it. I feel like conflict and defeat could also be read as resentment. Avoid it if you can. I feel like we will see through the end of August some level of struggles, familial struggles, work struggles. Stay out of gossip, stay out of petty stuff, low vibrating stuff if you can, and just try to sail above it. Do your own work, keep your head down. Don't play with the crazy makers that want to cause a bunch of issues and a bunch of challenges. Like, you don't need that. And they may very well be making choices that affect them long term that you don't want. So don't let that card scare you. Let it be a warning that there will be crazy makers around you trying to stir up trouble. Just don't play, particularly politically right now, because if we could be more politically charged, I just don't even know how at this point, and it is not worth it to engage in political battles right now. People are going to feel the way they feel. You're not changing anybody else's mind. You are welcome to the way you feel, and you're welcome to talk about it if you want to. But just know that if you're talking to people who feel the opposite of you, you're probably going to get some pushback, and it just might not be worth it for you. So be a little careful on that front right now so that you don't hurt yourselves at work, with your families, or just hurt yourselves, right? Have your principles, have your beliefs, most definitely. But this is not a time to engage in a battle over it. It'll be hollow. Yeah. Alrighty. Well, friends, that's where we are. As you know, I am a professional psychic advisor over at one2listen.com. That's number one. Number two, listen.com. You can find me over there every single day doing readings and healings and weddings, obviously. Uh, I kid. And funerals. Sure. Right? Why not? Uh, thanks so much, you guys. Again, come find me over there if I can help you with anything. Otherwise, I will be back next week, same place, same time. Take care. Have a great day. This has been yet another production of The Katie Weaver Show here on 1 2 Radio, where we're changing the way you listen to the world.